Gorilla Geek going 10.8. What's up, guys? Well, it's the start of fire season for 2013, so I'm getting ready to put my kit together for deployment. And what I'm working on is this green bag right here. That is my shelter bag. And we'll break that out and see what's going on in a little bit. I've been doing this field deployment thing for 6 years. So within those 6 years, it's been an evolution of what works for me. And I'm always changing. I mean, every year I'm always streamlining and say, oh, this didn't work, it got me cold this particular year, or this year this happened and this was pretty much worthless. So what I got is pretty much what's working out for me out in the field: urban, suburban, and rural. So this time what I'm tweaking is my shelter bag. So I got the old standby that never changes, the sleeping bag. And then I have the marine combat tent that I featured in another video, going up against another tent. And this has been bulletproof for the last 5-6 years. So what I've done what I'm doing different this year is I took out this pillow that I've been lugging out with me. Yeah, it's pretty big, and I'm replacing it with the wool blanket. And one other thing that I've added that is pretty much the feature of this video is I added on a hammock. So this past fire season, I've lived in a tent for around 3 to 4 weeks, and laying on the ground, even on a pad, was getting kind of old because site selection, sometimes it wasn't even. There was roots underneath, rocks. If you've gone camping and slept on the ground, you know what I'm talking about. You're out there having fun. I mean, you know, so what if you had a bad night of sleeping? You could work that off the next day, resting or something, or just, you know, going fishing. That always takes care of everything. In my case, I am working. So when I get up at 5:30 in the morning the next morning or whatever, I need to be on my A game. And having a really bad night, not sleeping well, could really affect that. I get cranky, I'm a little bit snappy, and I lose a little bit patience with people that I deal with, you know. And working an incident, sometimes it's you know, your head is on a swivel 24/7, working out, you know, challenges and setting up gear, because, you know, people's lives are at stake. So this year I decided to try some hammocking, and this is it here. This particular model is the Kammok with a K, wrol, like kangaroo, but they call it the Kammok wrol. And CaptainBerz featured this in his video, and it was timely because I needed something bulletproof, light, and good quality, and this was it, and the price was okay. And he gave a really good review of it, and I'll link it below to let you know what I'm talking about. So here it is. This is the version that I got here. Most of the environment that I go into as far as support would be in wooded areas for forest fires, so there are plenty of trees for me to string this thing along. And also in the urban scenario, I was able to string this up between 2 chain link fence on a hilltop, 2 radio sites, and I just set it up on the chain link fence, and I was good to go up there at 4,000 feet. And I had a nice little lunch up on the hill sitting on this thing. So this is going to work out really well. I get a good night's sleep. I'm refreshed. My back is okay as far as sleeping on it, and I'm not unlike sleeping on the ground. The only thing that you gotta concern yourself with is shelter. I mean, you put a tarp over you and that would take care of rain and some wind and stuff like that, but the biggest down draw of this is the space underneath right there. So when you sit in that, your butt is in contact with the hammock, and all that air that goes underneath will rob you of some warmth through convection. So I could be out here, it could be 80 degrees, I get a nice little breeze here, perfect. It'll cool me down as if I was in the 70s. But once it gets below 75, 70, you really get to feel some cold on your backside. You'll be all nice and toasty on top, but underneath, that's a whole new scenario. But there is a solution to that's already been figured out by a lot of videos on this channel, on YouTube, and also the Hammock forum. And what they have is an underquilt. So they have like a quilt sort of material underneath the hammock to kind of snug up against you, to provide that insulation, to keep that warmth below you. But they're pretty expensive. I mean, if you shop around for it, they could go up to $150 and above. There's a lot of people that make them themselves, and I just don't have the skill level for that. And like I said, I'm just starting. I just got this maybe 3 weeks ago. So my budget is, like many of us, is not up to par to get fitted out. And also, I don't want to dump a whole lot of money into this and to later say that, you know, this is not working out. I'm not going to do this no more. So now I'm experimenting on my backyard to see what works. And this particular model, the Kammok wrol, had these tie-down loops here. So I guess some people don't like the swaying of the hammock. I love it. I don't know what their problem is, but it kind of lulls you to sleep. And you got 3 of them, three tabs on each side. 1, 2, 3, and also on the other side. And that's going to play an important role of this one field expedient sort of modification to address the underquilt aspect of this, or insulating your underside. Let me show you how nice and easy it is to get in and out of this thing. And I have this somewhat like a foot to 18 inches above the deck there. Just open it up, sit your ass in there. You could just hang out at the campsite just like this, super comfortable. And when you're ready to hit it, there you go. You kind of lay at a 45-degree angle, and you're pretty well flat on this, so you're not, you know, like in a cocoon fetal position all the time, and it's pretty comfortable. And this Kammok here is rated for 400 pounds, so I can have both my kids in here mess around and everything, and maybe your significant other, and it's really nice and cozy, right? So I'm going to use an item that I already have, poncho liners. Good general purpose insulation here for cold weather. So here's one poncho liner, and as you know, the poncho liners, they have like these little tie-off tabbed into the seam, into the edge of the poncho liner. That could be tied right on the tabs of the hammock. And this is not an original idea. There's actually maybe 2 videos that I could see, and some websites out there that do mention using this as a cheap alternative to an actual underquilt. But what makes this system sort of go hand in hand is this model here. And this poncho liner is, the tabs are like almost perfectly aligned to the string of the poncho liner. It kind of looks like they were made for each other. And I just found this out by accident. I was just gonna try to do this in some form, and then this kind of showed up. So I already got the one side tied off on this edge right here, and you can see spread out pretty nicely. So all I'm going to do is just drape this over to the other side onto the other side from underneath. As you can see, you still have like this middle portion here, and some strings for this side here, and I'm just going to tie this off to one of the sides. This one I'll go here, and on the top side there, on the opposite side. That's just to close off that opening there, so air will not go in and out of there, robbing you of heat. And there it is. If you open it up, it moves with you. That's what I like about it. It won't shift up or down or or anything like that. Whatever you do on the inside would not matter, because it'll always be nicely conforming to whatever you're doing. See, I'm messing around with it and it doesn't go nowhere. It fits like a glove. Underneath I still got a little bit of airspace. And all the weight is being handled by the hammock and not the poncho liner. I tied it off in another configuration before, and some of the weight was being held by the hammock, by the poncho liner. But since then, what I just showed you, all the weight is going onto the hammock itself and not the poncho liner. So that's pretty much what it looks like from the bottom, and it's not touching the ground there. You have like a good 6 inches of clearance down there. Here's another angle. As you can see, plenty of airspace underneath to trap that warmth that I'm giving off from the bottom there. The only thing I got to do really is close this off on the end there, so no air would travel within the channel here from perpendicular from the hammock itself. And like I said, I got the middle part here hung up on one of the tabs here on one of the sides. Without tying this one end off here, you can see how much of a big hole it leaves on the bottom there. So this pretty much just comes up like that, but I still need to kind of block that off somehow. Well, I slept in this last night to see how well this insulates, and let me tell you, it's a good sleep. I don't think I'm ever going to go back to tent camping or ground camping again. This is going to be it for me. I'll still have my tent as a backup in case there is no structure for me to string the hammock up. But for now, this is my go-to system right here. This configuration right here would be good up till 66 degrees, something like that. I'm still warm, and that's me just wearing a t-shirt and shorts. I can see that I have to put another layer of poncho liner on top of this to deal with 50 degrees and below Fahrenheit temperatures. So I can't test that out now because we're getting hotter around here. It's summertime, we're going into summer. So I'm gonna have to wait till fall and winter, where I will experiment with multiple layers. Like this is just one layer, and mind you, you could buy for $20 a lot of 5 poncho liners. So I could just place on the layers, layer on top, layer on top layer. So I'm going to go with 2 layers when I hit the field, and keep a 3rd poncho liner if I need to, because sometimes we go down into the mid-30s in some of these higher elevations, even at the end of summer, like around August. That was the case last year, and it sucked, but with the system that I had in place back then, it was manageable. So this is what I'm gonna do, and this is just one modification, a poor man's modification, to test out the system. This is working superbly, so I might just go with this only, because at least with the poncho liners, you could take one off and use it in another scenario, multi-use, where an underquilt would be just the one item, but it's lighter. There's pros and cons. For me, for what I do and what I like to do in the field, this is going to work out better. So there's the setup for tonight's experiment. Here's a poncho liner, 3 sides of it hooked up to each tab on the hammock itself as an underquilt. I got me a cheapo Costco, my wife's sleeping bag there. I didn't feel like breaking mine out, and yeah, I'm a wuss, so I got me a nice full-size pillow there. Actually, this is the one that I take out to the field with me, but I may change to just using a jacket as a pillow next time and just leave that at home. And I'm ready for tonight's trial. So right now it's like 4 or 5 in the evening, and the temperature is around 77. It'll probably be 78 tonight, and start dropping. Hopefully it'll drop below 65 tonight, and that'll give me a good test for this hammock here with the improvised underquilt there. Poor man's underquilt. And I'm just gonna go like that, no tarp, no nothing, no bug net, and see how it is. As you can see, I'm outside in the hammock. I changed out my little setup. I'm going to use a 100% USGI wool blanket for the top cover, and of course I got the poncho liner as the underquilt. So I'm going to try that for a while, and I got the standby sleeping bag over here just in case it gets colder later on tonight. It's 11 o'clock at night and 61 degrees, almost 62. 3:34 in the morning, and it's 54 degrees. Well, I ditched the wool blanket when it got to around 59 degrees. Then I just had the sleeping bag over me as a overquilt, and it was okay. Then when it got down to like around 54 degrees, my backside was getting a bit cold. So I got into the sleeping bag, and I'm pretty toasty now. I also have a fleece hat on as well to keep my head cold, warm. And right now at this configuration I'm doing just fine at 54 degrees. And I'm sleeping pretty well, except for the few times that I had to get up because I was getting cold. But overall, better than a tent. So that's this year's tweaking of my shelter bag there. Took out the pillow and I think some other item there, I forgot what it was. And I've added a hammock along with the poncho liner with it for the underquilting and insulation. Added on a wool blanket, 100% USGI wool blanket. That could serve many purposes. This could serve many purposes. Even this could be a shelter, not using it in a hammock configuration. So the Marine Combat tent is 9.5 pounds. This here, straps and hammock, the whole system is 2.5 ounces. Because this and this together would make me comfortable down to 50 degrees or 54 degrees. So another one of these and maybe an extra one just for shits and giggles would take me down to the hopefully the 40s, 30s, and I'll test that out this year. So that's a considerable change from the big tent to the hammock system. And if I need to beat feet back home and not be able to use my vehicle, that would pack a lot better than the tent itself. So that's another change for this year. Okay guys, Gorilla Geek going 10-10.